Hello. I am really excited because I'm here with my team, my amazing team.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chella.
Chella is our program manager and creative business developer. She's incredible. And Radu, he is our online marketing person.
Hello, everybody. I'm in charge of marketing and all the nitty-gritty stuff that is not really seen.
Yes, and Radu is in Romania,
Yes.
and Chella is in Canada, near kind of by Toronto, that area. Yeah.
About 3 hours away from there.
So we live in three very different parts of the world, and there's a lot of coordination for us to try to come together across all those different time zones. But we managed to make it work, and we work really well together. I'm so happy that they're here, present here, and part of the team, because they've been instrumental in expanding our programs and really getting things up and running seamlessly. And we're here today because we want to support you to help you bring your work online. A lot of people are looking to go online. They've had their income completely stopped, and they know that they want to either help their community or start to work online. Some people already have virtual networks with their companies so that they're working remotely with their organization. We wanted to share some tips about all of that, because even being at home and working online is also a lifestyle change. So just even providing really basic tips about, what helps to work online and to work more independently and autonomously that way. We can share some of that with you. And hopefully you heard a little bit about our story and how I got started online, which was kind of accidental, basically. It started when people asked if I could teach them that mix of coaching, healing, and meditation. And I really didn't know how I could teach people, because everybody lived in different locations. It had to be a training. So I started with freeconferencing.com on a conference line through the internet, and the learning management system, because there were none back then, over 10 years ago, I used email and Google. That was what I used to run the whole 6-month training. So I hadn't had ever done a teleconference before or a webinar, and started out the gate with a training, which we still have. It's an iteration of that training. It's called Liberate, which is our meditation teacher training, or meditation coach training. And that's how it all sort of started. And then the more I got into that work, really loved teaching remotely so that I could also focus on my own spiritual practice. I loved being out in remote nature, in solitude. It was something that was very important to me. So it allowed me to have that lifestyle. And as things started to move from teleconferencing to online, I felt like there was a good opportunity for that. And that's about 3 or 4 years ago, we received some startup funding to start this online meditation venture. And it's been a wild, wild ride since then. And we want to share with you some of the story of that ride. And actually, the biggest challenge I had, because as I mentioned on Tuesday, as I started my business with a lot of naivety and enthusiasm. My idea was, I'm going to make meditation courses and sell them online. And for a whole year, I basically flailed. It was just, I felt completely lost. I was throwing things in the dark. I had no idea what it took to really have a sustainable business, or to build a business online. And I think I took for granted, having done this training, what it was going to take. So for that first year, I really struggled. And then one day I woke up and I thought, what I need to find somebody. And this was a game changer for our team and our business. is I said, I need to find someone who loves meditation. That's what I felt that was really needed, because all the marketers I talked to, first of all, online marketing, if you want to hire somebody that's a freelancer, it's very expensive. You can lose a lot of money quickly in online ads. And that's exactly what I did, is I threw away a lot of money unnecessarily because I had no idea what I was doing, and I was trusting these people who marketed other services and products. So the idea I had in my head a year later, when I was almost about to give up, was I need to find somebody who loves meditation, who really wants that to be in the world. And it felt important. And I ended up writing a whole list of the qualities I was looking for in a business partner. And Radu showed up 1 week later. Radu, if you want to come on. And we started really from ground zero. I kind of took everything that we were doing and swiped the slate clean. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, Radu, like coming on and what happened? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, it was also a surprise for me, because wasn't really thinking that I would find a project related to meditation, because meditation was just a passion that I was doing on the side, and as work I was just doing marketing campaigns because I'm passionate about marketing as well. But it was never a thought in my mind that I could combine them somehow. And then all of a sudden I just found your ad, and it was like something clicked. It was like, hey, I can combine meditation and marketing. That would be great. It sounds like a fun project to get involved in. So yeah, we got in touch with them, and the rest is history.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And like I said, we started from ground zero. But what I ended up doing as Radu and I started talking about strategy is I went right back to the trainings instead of the courses, because trainings is my background. And I think it was a year later, right, Radu, that Chella came on our team.
Mm-hmm.
So Radu and I laid the foundation for, I took the trainings that I had done from over a decade ago. I updated them to all come online. And actually I didn't even create it. I just kind of all had it, in my consciousness brain. And our approach was to share the training. I didn't even make the training. I sold the training first, and we sold it out in the first year. And that was actually the first training that Chella joined. So Chella, maybe you can talk a little bit about that and what happened.
Yeah, of course. I did mention this on Tuesday, so sorry if you're here for the second time, but I just wanted to kind of go back to how I found Sarah. I'll skip some of it, but basically, what I didn't mention on Tuesday actually was that I got an email from a company that is always sending out coaching information. And I honestly don't think I'd opened any of their emails in maybe 6 months. But I just happened to notice it when it was coming through my feed. And I thought, oh, that's so weird. I was just thinking about this, because at the time I was wanting to add meditation to my coaching anyway. And so I clicked on it, and there was a webinar. I went to the webinar, and I just instantly had this connection with Sarah. I was, when you just see someone or you hear someone speak and you're thinking like, do I know you? Where do I know you from? So I had this great experience in the webinar. And to be honest, at the time I wasn't working. I was still in school. And then I had this sort of feeling of self-defeat. And I thought, I can't do this right now. That's so sad. And I thought about it for 2 or 3 days, I think, before I actually decided, I'm gonna book a call with Sarah just to talk to her, just to see what happens, because I wanted to do it, but at the time I didn't see what was actually available for me to be able to do it. But trusting that I wanted to do it so bad and that it felt important, I just booked the call. And by the end of the call, I had it figured out. I'm like, okay, no, I can do this. I just need to, enlist my resources and not tell myself I can't do it. And then I did it. And then at the end of that training, fast forward 12 weeks, Sura actually called me and said, hey, you know, would you be interested in doing some work with me? I just have a feeling we're going to work together. And I mean, I had no idea when I joined the training that that would ever even be an option. So I punched my microphone, but, you know, it never occurred to me. So I think for me, it was just the lesson of trusting that there's kind of a process that's unfolding, but you don't necessarily know what the ending is or the outcome. So that was really special for me because I really feel like now I just trust that process all the time, which is important when you're working in a business like this because you don't ever really get to see where is it going to go. You just kind of do it. You just have to do it and trust that it's going to lead you somewhere where you need to go, you know? And yeah, so my introduction to the Suraflow team was through that. I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to just hear the story. There is a divine intelligence that flows through the internet, and we can get tapped into that. And we want to share with you a little bit about our own experience and give you some tangible tools, and start actually simply with, okay, so now you want to take your work online. Maybe you're somebody who's an individual. Maybe you're a small business. You're an entrepreneur. You have a brick and mortar business. Maybe you're a practitioner, like a coach or a healer or a therapist. So what would you really need to do to go online? What do you need? So breaking it down really simply, because I think for me, it was just hard for me to wrap my mind around the different components and what's really happening when you go online, because the World Wide Web is like the big sea ocean. You know, you can put a lot of energy into it and not get anything back, and you don't know where things are going. So the first thing is understanding really clearly, what do you have to offer? What are you offering? And who are you offering it to? And being specific in that. So something that people tend to resist is they don't want to label themselves or put themselves into a box and say, I only do this because I have many talents. I can do, you know, I can do Reiki healing. I can do massage. I can do counseling. I can do executive coaching. I can do, and so there's a tendency to want to overshare, I think, all of the things that we can do, but can people come to your storefront, which is your website, your presence, and understand in less than 30 seconds, what do you do and what do you have to offer? Can they receive that information very quickly? Who are you? Because that's about the amount of time that people spend. There's a very short attention span. So if that isn't communicated really easily, clearly, and concisely, that information can get lost. So it's starting with, what do I have to offer, and who is my audience, and being very specific about who is my audience. And Raju, Chala, feel free to chime in. Because I think one of the things that we see when people come through the training, because a lot of people that come through our trainings do want to work online, is that they want to be everything to everyone. They're helpers. They love helping people, and they don't want to exclude anybody. They don't want to say, I'm only working with this demographic because now it excludes all these other people. And, you know, I want to be of service to everybody. So
Yeah, I think it's good at the start to specialize and target some specific demographic, because then it's easier to grow within that niche. So, for example, you can start out by offering maybe meditation for kids, or counseling, or coaching for, I don't know, specific problems that people might have, and then it's once you get like you know, a service put together for a specific group of people or for a specific need, it's easier to promote it, it's easier to talk about it, it's easier to share it, because there's like only one message. And then, you know, once you get some traction, going on with that specific offering that you have, you can diversify. So it's easier to go narrow at the beginning and then open up than to go very wide at the beginning, because that requires a lot of resources. Of course, if you have resources, like a lot of resources, you can do that, but most people don't. So it's wiser to go narrow at the beginning and then open up. That's what I'm feeling.
Mhm.
And another thing I want to add to that as well is that as a person who is coming for services, you know, if a person comes to the site and I'm looking at it going, oh my goodness, this person does so many things, I don't know where to start. Or worse, they feel like, oh, they don't really specialize in what I need. Because to someone coming to your site, if it's the exact thing that they need, and it feels like you're the right person to help them with that thing, there's way bigger chances of them booking you or purchasing from you or working with you, because they trust that you get exactly that one thing that they're looking for. If you do 100 things, then it starts to dilute it a little bit. They're not thinking, oh, well, you're really great at this one thing. You're just kind of okay at everything, which isn't really what people are always, well, people aren't looking for that. You know?
Confusing. It gets overwhelming. It's confusing. And then there are too many options. And when there's too many options, people don't take action.
Exactly.
So it's about finding the right people that you want to work with. And I think that's also being honest with yourself about how you want to spend your time and your energy and who you want to spend it with. So think about that. Or maybe you have a product. Who are the people that you're serving? And to really think about those people specifically when you're creating an online presence. And I'm saying the right people because personally, I don't have a huge presence on the internet. I would, I also like to develop my personal practice and spend time in nature. So it hasn't been, that hasn't been our primary focus. Our primary focus has been on building material that serves teachers and coaches and healers and leaders. That has been our primary focus. And you can expand to a bigger audience. But Tim Ferriss recently came out on his blog about a month ago, and he said, you don't need to be famous. All you need is 2,000 good followers who love your work. And that's all you need. And it's much better to have that than to have a huge following, because he has, his life is turned upside down from being famous. He doesn't have privacy. He gets weird emails and death threats and all these things that for him now are a hassle, and they're a big fuss, and they create this noise in his life that he doesn't want. So, you don't have to be internet famous to do well. So that's another thing I just wanted to point out, because I think people have myths about going online. And I think you got to debunk some of those myths and how you can actually do well. So think of it as you have a storefront, that's your website, and there's a very clear message that's on your website: what you do, who you are, what you have to offer, and that there is one action to take on your site. There is an action that you're directing people towards, because you are collecting the information of people that are interested in what you have to offer. It doesn't mean that they're your clients now. It means that now they can hear from you. So, Raju, Chala, do you want to say anything about that? That call to action?
Yes. Yes. Regarding this call to action and regarding making like a message which is very clear and having people, subscribe, let's say, to your message by opting into your email list. I think this is like one of the most important assets you can have when starting a business online, is to start collecting email addresses from the visitors of your website, even though they might not be interested in purchasing your services right away. Just collecting the data and keeping in touch with them in time, you will generate a lot of good relationships, and many of the people on your list will become clients. So this is maybe one of the most valuable resources any internet business, especially the starting business, can have, you know, on the long run.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing that I want to touch upon is, like, you brought up the myths of internet businesses, and maybe one myth is that people can start generating income very fast and can get you know, rich overnight. And this is like similar to the gold rush era, when everybody was thinking that they're going to just go to the mountains, dig for one day and then come back a rich man. It's like there's like a allure of internet, you know, everybody's just posting, you know, how many you know, dollars they have made by selling a course or whatnot, but you don't really see the amount of work they put behind it. So it's easy to believe that, you know, I'm just going to start open my website and then 1 month from now I'm going to be independent money wise from the internet. So I would advise people that are going to start their business online to view it as a marathon rather than a quick sprint, and be prepared, you know, and you know, invest energy on the long term rather than just focus on like a few months and then expect that, you know, everything will work out. Maybe it will, you know, it's now the
It is. It's a long-term commitment. Think of it as building a garden, yielding crops from your field. It's not, if you're there just to get rich quick, or you think it's a really good monetary opportunity, I think you need to dig more deeper for that reason of why you want to go online, because it's going to take more than that to be successful and to sustain yourself online. So yes, having that one opt-in form, collecting emails from the people who come visit your site. So usually that comes with an offer. So a lot of people have a free offer, you know, download an ebook, or, you know, give something that is specific to your audience for what they might be interested in receiving, something genuine that you would love to offer them, that is creative, that comes from you. It's a gift. It's a, you know, it's something you give them, and then they opt into your site to receive that. Chella, did you want to mention anything?
Yeah, just one small thing. So when you were talking about, you know, sort of the thinking in the long term and sort of building on and being consistent, one thing that just kind of comes to mind that I think is just a very valuable thing to remember is that when you're doing this from home, you want to kind of have the idea, set it in your mind that you are not just at home, you're doing the work. Because it can get really easy to say, oh, I'm just at home, I'll just, you know, kick up my feet and I'll do like 2 things today and that'll be enough. And, you know, it takes a lot of time and dedication to, I mean, a lot, maybe even more than having, I mean, okay, I'm gonna be honest, it is more. It's more than having just a 9-to-5 job. Like, you need to really love what you do. So, like, you need to love it, and it needs to be important to you, and you have to have like a really strong intention with it, because when that morning time hits and you make your coffee, it could be easy to go, well, I'll just watch 9 YouTube videos or something. You know, you got to treat it like I'm at work. Like, there's a boss right here watching you. And you've got people relying on you, and you got to do the work. Even if you're by yourself, it doesn't matter. Just do it and treat it like that's what you're doing. You're doing, like, you're showing up to something, and then fully show up. And just, if you can do that consistently, then you will see the growth. But often what I see is that people don't do that, and then they go, I don't know what's happening. It's not, you know, I'm not getting any growth here. I'm not getting any results. And you're like, well, what are you doing? Like, give me a mental picture of your whole day, or a visual of your whole day. And, you know, they go through it, and you can see what's going on. There's a lot of holes in their way of doing it, and the mindset as well. So
There's a reason
yeah.
why too. Like,
Yeah.
Chella brings up such a good point. Discipline is key in having your own online business. There's no get rich quick schemes to partake in there. I mean, That's just a myth. And there's a reason why people wake up, stay in their pajamas for 2 or 3 hours longer than they should. All of that stuff, because you have to commit to your work if you're behind it, if you're the face person, whatever that might be for what you love, or feel some level of passion for. People feel uncomfortable with that. You've got to commit at the same level as you would your employer. So if you're willing to sell something for a company, you've got to be willing to put in the same level of hours and concentration as you would for a company or an employer. So having that discipline and having a schedule and a routine is essential to being successful at working online. So that means taking a shower in the morning and getting out of your PJs, maybe having meditation, having some sort of ritual to set you up for your day, having a space, a real space where you can really work and concentrate and drop in. I think people tend to have a more lackadaisical attitude, and they're like, oh, I just made a website. Why aren't people coming? Like, why aren't they? And it's because you got to bank those hours. It is about banking those hours. There's no something for nothing. So that's a component. So what you're doing when people come to your website is you're collecting emails, and that is creating a relationship with your audience. So think of it as getting to know someone or dating. You're nurturing a relationship. Every email that you start to receive, now you're nurturing a relationship with the people who have opted into your list. And that is called, in a sense, a funnel. So you're kind of funneling people in by providing them with information that's valuable to them, that's useful to them. You start serving them immediately. It's almost as if they're already your client. You start servicing them and you start giving valuable things to them that are meaningful to them. So now you have these touch points. So if you were dating somebody, you would just be consistently having touch points with them, right? You wouldn't just let 3 months go by and be like, hey, what's up? You would be consistently speaking to them, and then you would be gently guiding them and inviting them into what your offerings are. You would give them an opportunity to see what it's like to have your product, to buy your product, and also to experience your service, right? We wouldn't expect people to just buy out the gate just from a website, just from looking at your website. Usually that takes 9 to 20 times of someone getting to see you and to know you, like 9 to 20 touch points before they develop the trust to take an action to have a purchase through your website. So it takes time to develop a relationship. It takes time to develop the trust, and it takes time for them to get to know you, to feel comfortable enough to engage with you or to purchase a product. This is more geared towards people who work in the service industry, because that's the industry that we're in. And we found that it was really difficult to understand business models based on services. It was more challenging than selling. When you sell a product, it has a different approach than selling a service, or even a high-end service like a training, for example. So do you guys want to add to that?
I was gonna talk about the whole relationship analogy, and then you came in right with it afterwards, and I was like, oh, there it is. But essentially, that's exactly it, though. It's in thinking about it that way is so helpful. You have to think about it exactly like it's a relationship, or any relationship that you would nurture closely with someone else. That consistency is what builds trust, that you talk to them and not at them, that you're not always promoting. Because, I've received that before. I signed up for something and every email was like, buy this thing, do this thing, my other, and it was like, whoa, man, I just met you, like, I feel like you need to really make sure that you're aware of that you're talking to them, you're giving them value, like you said. but you're hearing them too. It's like you say things to them that make them feel heard, whether or not they've individually messaged you or not. And that's why it's so important to know who your audience is, because you cannot do that if you're talking to everyone. It doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. What's your message if you're talking to everybody?
And I think Radu wanted to add something. I saw him reach for the button.
Yes. I was just thinking that if you're starting online for the first time and you don't really have experience with it, it might be quite overwhelming. And a good way to have an online presence is to use existing platforms instead of building your own thing. So instead of building your own website, you can go on YouTube, right, and create videos. So YouTube is already there. So you have the potential to reach millions overnight just because this platform exists. But YouTube is not the only one. You can think of like platforms like Insight Timer, whereby you can publish meditations there. They can become known in the community, and then people subscribe to you, and then you can like create like a paid meditation or paid guide. Or there are even websites whereby you can offer coaching services. I think I forgot the name, right? So you can create a profile, and then people ask for your services there, and you get paid by the hour and whatnot. So you can start having this kind of involvement in websites that are already built, so you don't have to invest this effort. And in the meantime, you can of course work on your website. Yeah, and because it's especially difficult for people who are at the start of the road, because there's so many things to do. But
another to be overwhelmed by that.
Yeah, exactly. But another thing to be aware of is that it has never been a better time to come online, because the world is evolving into this kind of direction where everybody will be more and more online, especially with like this trend of people working from home. But besides this current situation where everybody's forced to work from home, there is this underlying trend of automations, increasing automations, right? People being displaced from their workplace, so everybody's moving online. So the sooner you are transitioning to online, the better it will be. So you can start by very small steps and then increase it over time, but treat it as a marathon, not as a sprint. That's the whole idea.
Yes. And like we mentioned before, you can start to integrate small things to have an online presence. So even if you're doing something where you're working with people in person or selling in person, that you can have components and you can have some online presence that can help automate some of your workflow and make that a more seamless experience. We're coming up on 30 minutes, and I was thinking that we could share a little bit more about how people can find you online. And then after that, what's helped us become successful as an online company, and sharing some tips about that. So Radu actually helps with our online marketing. All of that seems like a different language to me in the beginning. He manages SEO and ads such as Google ads and Facebook ads and targeting those ads. And maybe you can just talk very briefly, like on the surface level, about those things. But what's important is that what you're doing when you have a storefront is you're finding out the people that you would like to work with or you would like to connect to. Where are they? Where are they online? Where is that traffic? How can they find you? And that's one of the questions when you're online. And Radu, maybe you can just share a very simple, brief overview, and then we can go into what can help you create success. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so in terms of promoting yourself online, there are different strategies that you can approach. You can do them one by one or all of them together, but if you do more at the same time, it will require more resources from you. So depending on your situation, you should, have your own strategy. But just to give you an idea, there's like search engine optimization, which is like one of the most important strategies of generating traffic. This means having your own website and optimizing in such a way that search engines such as Google can find it easily and can show your website for specific keyword searches that people are actually searching for online. So for example, meditation for relaxation, let's say. That would be like a keyword that somebody would input in Google search when they want to find a meditation to help them get relaxed. And there are specific techniques to optimize your website so that you can increase the chances of your website to rank higher in the search results. This is an entire like field, and there's a lot of knowledge behind it. So if you just do a few searches, you will find like a sea of information in terms of SEO. And then the other strategy that you can is like create ads for which you pay. So the big difference from between SEO and paid ads is that once you optimize your website and the website starts ranking, the traffic will be free, right? You put a big amount of effort in the beginning and you do the right thing. That's very critical, because if you don't do the right thing and you put a lot of effort, you don't get the results. So you need to put the effort and do the right thing at the same time. And then you will start generating traffic that will come to your website for free. Now, this will take anywhere between a few months to 1 year or 2 years in order for you to really start seeing the results if you're doing the correct thing. On the other hand, if you want to see instant results, so from today to tomorrow, you can approach paid ads. And paid ads, you know, there are millions of platforms that are selling paid ads, but some of the best known are Facebook ads and Google ads. And we're doing them both here at Suraflow. And let's say about Google ads are just snippets of texts which are promoting your service and which show up before the organic search results. And people click on them many times not even knowing that they're ads, right? The only thing is that you need to pay either per click or per impression, and you need to have a budget for running ads. So according to your situation, ads might make sense to you or might not. But if you want to go to the ads on the ads route, even on the SEO route, if you want to do it by yourself, before actually doing anything, you need to educate yourself on that subject.
I highly recommend that, is having
Yes.
some level of education, even if you hire someone, so you know that they're not going to spend all your money for nothing. Have some knowledge about what SEO is, what ads are, how they help create traffic. If you are selling vegan baked goods, you know, you would create a Google ad that says, receive vegan baked goods at your door, you know, and it would just be a very clear ad. Anybody who is searching for that ad gets served up to them right away the moment that you spend money on that ad. But again, it's a very complex thing to understand, but I highly suggest that when you're hiring people, and we'll start moving into like what's helped us become successful. I feel like the key component is that Radu understands meditation, because that's our audience, are people who are meditators or interested in meditation and mindfulness. And that made all the difference, because the way we speak to people, the language that we use, our approach is very different versus other services or industries or products. So I felt like that was a key component, that Radu understood meditation. And so I think what I suggest, you don't have to, but if you're hiring somebody to do your online marketing, see if you can hire someone that's passionate about what you have to offer. That's really helpful. It's having that alignment. And to me, we call Chela the Holy Trinity of our team, because Chela also loves meditation and teaches meditation. So in terms of developing content, running all of our trainings and our programs, Chala uses that approach in everything that we do. So having the alignment on your team and the people that you work with is, I think, vital. I don't know how other people would do it, but that's vital, that they have a connection to your mission and to your vision, and that they feel also passionate about that. So that, I feel like, is a key component. That's a foundational component. And I would say what's really helped us, and you guys can chime in, is relationships. Having good relationships. It's you'd be surprised at the people that come to us through very unexpected places and people. So we have key relationships that we developed with people that are in our industry, and they send us people. They might put our training through their email list. And there's been cases where we've paid thousands of dollars to go on a huge email list to huge spiritual communities or meditation communities, and we've received absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of part of the whole process, is seeing, you know, what's going to work. And some things are a gamble, but we've somehow synchronistically found these few key relationships that have brought us this traffic and people who want to work with us, and that's made a big difference.
Mm-hmm. And I want to mention too that those relationships don't have to be, you know, big, huge, famous people. I think sometimes people get the idea that, you know, if they're going to have any impact working with someone, that they have to be this big influencer who's got millions of fans. It's totally not true. You need to work with people who, you know, are on the same page as you, so that it's relevant. You don't want to just have any old email list sending out stuff that has nothing to do with you and then sending your stuff out. It won't make sense to the people in that list. So it has to be relevant, but also, you know, that you have, like Sarah was saying, just a relationship with them, so that it's very seamless and it has a flow to it. When, you know, we're about to release something and we can just contact them and say, hey, how are you? You know about them, you know who they are. It's not just a blank page with text on it. It's a person you're talking to, and that they can feel that. And then that back and forth between you builds trust and consistency, so that you know that you can always have that relationship with them and use that as a way to reach more people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I find that the relationships that we thrive in are the ones where we share the same values.
It's authentic. That's
it's
important.
Authentic.
Yeah.
There is transparency, there's communication, there's clarity. When we are sending them something, we know exactly the way it's going to show up on their email, how many people it's going to go to, the impact it's going to have. We track everything that goes through their emails. There's no, you know, I would say, our agreements are clear. And so we know what we're getting into. We understand, there's an understanding that's there. So that's something that's worked well for us.
Mm-hmm.
Radu, would you like to say anything else that's worked well for us? Google ads have worked well for us.
Yeah, Google ads have worked well for us because when you're creating Google ads, you can target specific keywords that are highly relevant. So when you're targeting broad keywords, like let's say just meditation, right? First, when you want to create a ad, you're tempted to say, okay, let me just target meditation to for my ad to be seen by all the people who are searching for meditation. But this is very, very, very broad, because somebody might be searching for meditation for sleep. Somebody might be searching how to do meditation, or meditation for kids, or I don't know. There are so many subjects, you know. And if you're showing up to everybody, then only like a tiny fraction of those people will be actually interested in your services. So what ads?
That's the biggest mistake that people make, is that they try to do that. They're like, I'm in baked goods, so I'm just going to say baked goods, and I'm going to pay for that keyword, and nobody's ever going to find you from that, and you're going to pay out the wazoo for that.
Yes, because everybody, the broader the keyword is, the more competition there is. You're gonna have to pay more for that. The traffic will be less relevant, and most likely you're gonna end up losing money. And this is why, if you're doing ads, you pretty much know what you're doing, because it's very possible that if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to be losing money. And this is why you're either have to gonna get yourself educated on that, or hire somebody who has a lot of experience with ads. Otherwise, it's pretty risky for yourself to be doing it. So yes, ads have worked well for us because they are highly targeted, and the cost very specific, always monitored, and we always knew, what we're getting in return for those ads. It wasn't in something in the dark for us, So we knew every step, how many clicks, how many people opted into our list, how many people ended up to becoming the students, and so forth. So nothing was left to chance from this point of view.
And it's about building your audience. And speaking of audience, I want to acknowledge who's out there and see if you're enjoying this, feel free to like, feel free to share. We have people here on Zoom. We would love to hear your questions. So if you'd like to come on, you would raise your hand and we'll bring you on voice or video, both. You can also type chat your question in the Q&A box, or you can type chat your question if you are watching now through Facebook. Please feel free to type chat your question below in the comments. I just want to also mention that we have a paid webinar that we're offering for people that want to go deeper into taking their work online. What is the name of that webinar? Okay. 3 essential keys to starting an online
business. Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and put I'll put it on my page right now in the comments section and put that into Flow Live, Chella. But check this out if you want to learn more. It's on April 7th. And it includes a bonus webinar that Chella will be providing about how to optimize your work through Zoom. So Zoom is amazing. A lot of people use Zoom. There is also a learning curve to Zoom if you are a business owner or you run trainings and services. So we'd like to share with you how you can use it and navigate through Zoom and really understand how Zoom can serve you in your work. Please don't be shy. Feel free to come on if you have any questions.
Yeah, I just want to say, until a question arises, is that if somebody wants to start their business online now, they don't have to do like a whole lifestyle overhaul, right? So right now, if you do have another job or another occupation, you can start your business part-time, like 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day. The key is consistency, to do it like day in, day out. Set up, like, even if you set up 1 hour a day, that's perfect. And start building it in time. Start thinking of a long-term process, like what's it going to be in 6 months, in 1 year, in 3 years from now, or in 5 years from now. And right now we are in this very bad situation, let's say, of global quarantine. Everybody is locked down in their homes, but this can actually be like a blessing in disguise if you take it correctly. So instead of doing like most people do, watching Netflix movies all day, yeah, this can actually be like a great time to put the foundation of your online business and invest as much time as you can and as much effort as you can in this period where you cannot anyhow get out of your home and you cannot do your regular job and you cannot do your regular life. At least do something for your future. And I think this is like the best time to start that. So
that's a really good point. Yeah, thanks for making that, Raju. Couldn't agree more. Our business has remained robust despite this pandemic. I think it's almost even increased interest for our trainings because people are home, and now they have time to commit to a meditation training. So if you want to create a lifestyle where you have more freedom and flexibility, where you don't have to pay rent, where you don't need to commute to work, you don't need to be in an office building full of people, this is a really good option, is to start working online. Personally, I was sharing in my own story, I love working online because it's just like clean energy. It's seamless when I'm working with clients. It's just that hour or hour and a half that we're together, I can close down my computer. I don't have to fuss over an office space and all these other things. I have more time for the things that I really love, like being in nature or developing my practice and nurturing my creativity, other things that where it's like I'm in just it's a higher vibrational place. Not having to go into really mixed energies all the time. um, I do like working in person too, but I like it to be contained. You know, I like working with people in nature, for example, where there's a lot of energy flow. But I don't need to be driving on a freeway for an hour to go teach meditation. I mean, that just doesn't really make sense, you know? I can do it, and it's going to deplete me. It's not the joyful way I like to spend my time and energy. So, any questions? We have people here. Thank you so much for joining us on Zoom. Any questions on Facebook? I'm surprised because these are the questions we get a ton of.
The most, I would say.
That's why we're doing a Zoom stream. So it's just, we kind of get this question every day is about the online work. So let us know if you have any questions or comments. Any people on Zoom? Okay. Chela and Raju, do you want to say any last closing thoughts? We're almost an hour now.
Oh, wow. No, I think there's a lot to digest there. But yeah, just starting with that one thing. If there's like anything you can take away from this, is that first thing that you said in the very beginning, Sarah. It's that you know what you're offering and who you're offering it to, and that's 100% the most important thing. Don't even start anything else until you know that. And then once you get clear on it, then you can take a small step, whatever you choose that small step to be. And there is no perfect next step. I also want to mention that, that the perfect next step is that it's one. Like you need to just make sure it's simple and that's something that you can do and are willing to do, and that you feel comfortable doing. Well, actually, let me take that back. You might not feel comfortable doing it. You might have to push yourself a little bit, but something that you're willing and wanting to do for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think I just wanted to reiterate that point.
Mm-hmm. It's a good point because it will push you out of your comfort zone. And oh, you were saying something that I wanted to add on. You were saying that to focus on one thing. I kind of lost the thought, but
the power.
well, yeah, there is a power to one of just
Yes.
offering one thing on your website and starting there. But it can feel overwhelming. I think that that's something that stops people is they learn one tech platform and they're like, what the heck is this? And it drives them crazy. And that can be a big hindrance, is just the learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
And then learning how to integrate different tech platforms.
Yeah.
So we integrate different tech platforms to run our trainings. But it's possible, you know, it's step by step, and you don't have to build Rome in a day. Like Raju said, you can start laying the groundwork, you know, lay the foundation, create a vision for yourself, and really dig deep and ask yourself why you want to work online and how important that is to you. If it's not that important, it's probably going to be pretty challenging to launch and sustain your online business. But if it's something that's deep and meaningful to you, it's something that's absolutely possible. and we highly recommend. I love it as a lifestyle choice to be able to work online because I can work from anywhere. It's very flexible. It's joyful. I find it joyful. It looks like we have a few comments in Q&A.
Yeah, we do. So Shilpa actually asked a question about WordPress. So I feel like that might be a little heavy to get into right now, but my advice, Shilpa, you asked is WordPress sufficient as a site? How robust does it need to be? It doesn't in the beginning. Like you could start with a booking site if that's what your offer is. You know, you don't have to have a website with a bunch of fancy things on it. And if you do have a website, you really only need to make sure you have an about section and a booking somewhere for people to get in touch with you, even just a contact page or something. So I wouldn't worry about robust at this point. You can add to it later. I hope that's an okay answer for you now.
But I think that WordPress as a platform is very, very suited for
Agreed.
this. So
yeah.
if you're going to WordPress,
you have to hire a developer,
yeah.
upkeep, then you have to update everything, update your plugins. I mean, you know, people run huge businesses from one landing page, and you can develop that page on something that's already pre-built, like a template, and that, you know, you can build perfectly great websites that way. And it's an option. That's how I would start. I wouldn't, if you're just dabbling online, depending on your budget and your time, I am a huge fan of MVP, which is minimum viable product. Start with what's minimal, like the least amount you need to make the impact you want to create.
Yes.
So that's just usually one page of something. You don't need to have it be fancy and beautiful and all these things. It can be beautiful, but it needs to be functional. That's the most important aspect, is it has to be functional. People have to understand what they're going through when they're on your website. They've got to understand very clearly what it is in 30 seconds or less, and where to go and what action to take. It has to be so crystal clear. Those are the best converting websites. Is that?
Yes. That's very, very true. You know, start with something very simple and then work with that. But as a content management system, you are very safe with WordPress. So it's
like we have another.
Shilpa made a comment.
Oh yeah, she knows. You know about user experience. Yeah. So that's really, you know, I think simple is good, and even if you have a tech background, simple is good, right? Like that's kind of where you want to be. You don't want to be spending time developing a website. You want to be spending time doing what you love, right? Which is working with people, sharing meditation. So just keep in mind your resources and the right use of energy, or good use of your energy, and how much energy you want to put into what. Because in the online world, you can go into many different directions. There are many, many, many threads. And another thing is, like, people get so ambitious and kind of greedy. You know, it's like they want to take all those, you know, opportunities, and then they spread themselves way too thin, instead of just being, you know, having a single focused intent and letting that be simple. It's like we want to make it more and more complex. So like I said, it takes discipline to stay simple. It takes discipline to stay focused. But that will pay off in the long run, is to have that discipline and stay within what you're offering. Anything else? And maybe, in the webinar that we're hosting April 7th, we'll talk a little bit more about that integration with Zoom. It's more for service-based industries. So if you're offering a service, I think this is a good webinar for you, because it's about how can you flow your service online. That's essentially what it is. So any other questions or comments?
I don't see any on Facebook.
Okay. It's a really, really broad, huge topic. So,
yeah, it's a lot.
something, and it's not something like we consider ourselves experts in, or at least not me. You know, Radu is an expert, Chala
Yeah.
is expert status now, but it's something that you know, is part of what we do, and we just want to be supporting people right now and giving them an idea of what they can be working towards if you'd like to do this. And again,
Mhm.
Zoom is a great platform. Any kind of webinar platform, streaming live is really great. So those are all things to take into consideration. Thanks so much for joining us today. It's lovely to see you and to see you all again as well. So we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or evening. And if you're watching the replay of this, feel free to ask any questions below in comments, and we're happy to answer. And just a preview for next week, we're going to be working towards offering tools for meditation, stress, and anxiety. So for people that are feeling a lot of fear right now, who feel anxious, who have a lot of worry, this is a course that's going to be set up for people who are holding space also for other people. So maybe you're a parent, maybe you're a business owner, or you're a teacher, and you want to be teaching tangible tools on how to help people with stress and anxiety. We will be hosting a special event for that and talking about it next week.
Or a coach.
I'm sorry?
Or a coach, if you're a
Or a
coach as well.
coach.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Especially if you're a coach.
Yes. Don't forget that one.
Yes. Okay. Well, it's so fun hanging out with you guys, and we'll see you all next week. Lots of love. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Chala and Radu.
Thank you for
Thank you.
having us.